video to explain that problem that we left off on. So I took some time to understand, and I understand it now. So I'm gonna explain it to you. All right, so first things first, this is the problem that we're trying to solve. So you have to find your critical points, right? Which are the numbers that kind of matter the most to us. So as you can see in the problem, your teacher deconstructed this right here and made it two things, right? So we have x minus 3 and then we have x plus 3. What you're going to do is you're going to solve both of those, set them equal to 0, and you're going to solve. So here we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. Sorry, we're going to add 3 on both sides over here, and then over here we're going to subtract 3 on both sides. Okay, when we do that, that's going to cancel, and we're going to get x is equal to 3, and then over here we're going to get x is equal to -3, right? So these are the values that x can't be, right? Because I don't know if you remember, but this is how you find your domain, right? So you set the bottom equal to 0, and then whatever that is, that's what x cannot be, right? So we just found out that we have two critical points, which are x equals 3 and x equals -3. The other critical points actually can be found here in the top. Same thing, we're going to set that equal to 0. We're going to subtract 2 on both sides. And when we do that, we're going to get x is equal to -2, which is our other critical point. So now at this point, what you want to do is you want to draw a number line. I'm going to try and zoom out a little bit. So we're going to draw a number line here. Put 0 right here in the middle. So we have, essentially we have 3, -3, and then -2, right? So -3 would be like right here. -2 would be right here. And then our +3 is going to be like right here. Cool. And then just for us, we know that if you keep going to the left, you're going to have negative infinity. And if you keep going to the right, you're going to have positive infinity. All right, dope. So now the thing we want to do now is that whole sign chart thing that we were trying to figure out. Okay, so let me show you how to set that up. So to set up the sign chart, you're going to do this. Maybe we need about this, that. Okay. And then what's going to go over here is going to be all your factors. So the x plus 2, the x minus 3, and the x plus 3. So those guys that we were solving for. So I'm going to go x plus 2, x minus 3, x plus 3. And then we can leave this last row here. We can call this like the answer. I'm going to show you what that means in a second. Okay. Now what's going to go across here is going to be your intervals, right? So our first interval is from -infinity to -3. You can see that right here. That's our first interval. So we're going to say from -infinity to -3. Our next interval is going to be -3 to -2. All right, and then our next interval, and the interval are the critical points. So it's going to be from -3 to -2, and the last one is going to be from -2 to +3. And then finally from 3 to positive infinity. Okay. So hopefully that made sense as far as I got the intervals. So now let's actually start filling out this chart. Okay. So all we're going to do, I'm going to erase the intervals here. That's okay. What we're going to do next is this. Okay. So in each interval, we're going to pick a value, right? So from, let's start off with -infinity to -3. We know that -4 is included there. So let's go ahead and just use -4 as our value. So we're going to put -4 as our value. So we're going to start off there. So what you're going to do is you're going to plug in -4 into all these guys and then see if your answer is going to be negative or positive. That's basically what we're doing. So we're going to plug in -4 into x here. So we're going to have -4 plus 2, which is going to be -2, which is going to make our answer negative. All right. Now let's plug in -4 here. I'm going to have -4 minus 3, which is going to be -7. And again, our answer is overall going to be negative. All right. Now we're going to plug in -4 here. We're going to get -4 plus 3, which is equal to a -1, which again, our answer is overall going to be negative. So now this last row here, the answer row, you basically take negative times negative times negative, and you're going to see what you're going to get, right? So A negative times a negative times a negative is going to be negative. So that means this overall row is negative. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So now we're over here, and our interval is between -3 and 2. So the value we can use between -3 and 2, we can say that's going to be -2.5, right? So let's plug in -2.5. So again, we're going to plug in -2.5 for the x's. So we have -2.5 plus 2, which is going to give us a -0.5. So that means our answer is overall going to be negative. All right, let's do the same thing down here. So we have -2.5 minus 3. That's going to be a -5.5. Again, our answer is overall going to be negative. All right, so now let's go over here at the bottom. We have -2.5 plus 3. That's going to be a positive 0.5. So our answer overall here is going to be positive. Okay. Now the same thing from before. In our answer column, you're just going to multiply your answers. So we have a negative times a negative, which is going to give us positive, and then we're multiplying by another positive. So positive times positive is going to be positive. All right, we're going to keep going. So now we're in the -2 to 3, right? So here, our interval 0 is actually a fair game. So we're going to just say 0. We're going to use 0. All right, so here we have 0 plus 2, which is equal to 2. That's going to be positive. We have 0 minus 3, which is going to be -3. That's negative. Here we have 0 plus 3, which equals 3. That's positive. Okay. So when we do a positive times a negative, we're going to get negative. And then when we do negative times positive, we're still going to get a negative. So this is going to be negative overall. All right, we have one more. So for this one, we have 3 to positive infinity. Let's just use 4. We're going to use 4. And then here we used 0. Okay. So if we use 4, here we have 4 plus 2, which is going to be equal to 6. That's positive. Here we have 4 minus 3, which is equal to 1. That's positive. And here we have 4 plus 3, which equals 7. That's positive. When we multiply all that, positive times a positive times a positive, you're going to get positive. All right. So we're done filling out the chart. So now let's see what that means as far as our interval, right? So the best way to think of it is like this. Everywhere you see a negative, you're basically not going to include that interval. So from negative infinity to -3, which is this first interval right here, we're going to cross that out. We don't care about that. And then from -2 to -3, this interval right here, where we included that 0, that came out as -2, so we don't care about that. What we do care about is everything that had a positive in it. So what had a positive in it was from -3 to 2. So we care about this interval right here. This was good. And we care about from 3 to positive infinity because that was the other interval. So we care about this, right? Oh, I have to undo that. Oh, no. All right, we good. We good. All right. So we care about from 3 to positive infinity, which is this right here. All right. So now that you see which intervals are highlighted, it makes it easier to draw out the answer. Okay. So the answer is going to be this, right? So we only care about from -3 to 2. So we're going to say we're including -3 to 2 and the interval between 3 and positive infinity. And that's going to be our answer here. Okay. All right. So hopefully that made sense. Sorry if that was a little bit long. I just wanted to make sure that you understood. But yeah, that's what your teacher meant by the sign chart, and hopefully that clears it up.